If your gas gauge doesn't work, it just takes all the enjoyment out of driving your truck. You don't know when you're going to run out of gas, and it's just no fun. Today, I'm at Brothers Tech Center to show you how to diagnose and fix your gas gauge. My name is David Welch. I'm at Brothers Tech Center every single week so we can get your truck back on the road. All right, so there's an old joke in automotive electric repair. The first thing that you want to check when anything's going wrong is your ground. The second thing you want to check is your ground, and the third thing you want to check is your ground. Now, it's not a very funny joke, but it is very accurate. The most common problem you're going to have with this and any of your electrical problems is just that you have a bad ground. So we're going to check every single little place that we have ground on this connection. I'm going to go ahead and take a test light, and I'm going to attach it to 12 volts power. I'll check the other side, make sure that we're getting power right here and the light is coming on. First thing I want to check is my housing. If the housing does not have a good ground, it is not going to work. What I like to do is on one of these little bolts right here, I'll put an eyelet on there and I'll run a separate ground that goes to the cab. Just because this is screwed into the dash does not mean it's going to ground out properly. Use a separate ground. Now, on the back of your gauge, you'll notice that there's a plate right here, and that plate is going to make contact with your gauge cluster housing. And if it does not, of course, it will not work well. So make sure that this is clean here and the housing is clean where it makes contact so it operates correctly. This post right here, this is coming from the sending unit. If you do not have a ground coming from here, it means either your sending unit or the wire coming to the sending unit is broken and it's not working. This has got good light here, so we can move on to the next section, which is going to be on our fuel sending unit. And this housing right here, the whole thing grounds out and it screws into your tank, but it won't necessarily ground out either. That's why it has this separate ground here, and this ground has an eyelet on the opposite end, and this has to be cleaned off, and where it screws onto the cab has to make sure that it has really good contact or nothing's going to work. We've tested our grounds, now we need to check our positives. So I'm just going to put my test light on the back and I can see that I've got power to that. If you can't tell which of the two is getting power, just put it on both of them. If neither are getting power, you know you're busted. If one's getting power, then you know you're good. On the back of the gauge cluster, if you can't quite tell which is getting power, generally it's going to be the pink wire. But again, all you have to do is test both of them. Nothing bad's going to happen if you touch it to the negative. Now that we know we've got power, we can move to the next step. Now, this is the easiest test to do on what's broken, your gauge or your electrical sending unit. So all you got to do is disconnect it from the top right here and then just ground it out. And if you're grounding it out and your gas gauge does this, then you know your gas gauge is working and more than likely this piece is bad. But I'll show you how to do more specific tests on that in just a second. Okay, let's go ahead and test our sending unit here. You'll notice this one is a 90 ohms. That's the resistance of the wires that are in the inside. 90 ohms is 1967 on up. 66 on down will be 30 ohms. You need to know that because we're going to use a multimeter next. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our ground right here and we're going to put that to the ground on the sending unit here. We'll attach that. And then our positive, if you will, is going to go to this prong right on here. And then you'll notice what the readings are here. So that's pretty low. And as I come up, you'll notice that the numbers are coming on up too. When I go all the way to the top, it should read right around 90 ohms there. So let's say, for instance, you don't want to take this out of your gas tank. What you're going to do is just guess how much gas that you have in there. Let's say, for instance, you have a half a tank. So if you had a half a tank, you'd be reading somewhere right around 45 ohms there. If you had below 67, it'd read somewhere around 15. Now, Sometimes the wires in here, they'll be working on the bottom half, but there'll be a break somewhere in the line and it won't work when you go all the way to the top. If that is the case, you're going to have to take this out of your gas tank and replace it. So let's just do a quick little recap. First thing we're going to do is check all of our grounds and make sure we've got good, clean contacts. Then we're going to check our power wire, make sure we've got 12 volts. Then we're going to go ahead and check our sending unit. If it's bad, we'll replace it. If it's not bad, then we know our gauge is bad. So of course we have these in stock. When you get your gas gauge, make sure you check out all your other gauges at the same time. Get everything at one time and get everything taken care of at the same time. My name's David Welch. I'm at Brothers Tech Center every single week to make sure your truck gets back on the road. Do me a favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out next week because I really want to see you on the road, man. I don't know.